This excerpt comes from Chapter 1, Section 1 of The Night Has a Naked Soul by Alan Kilpatrick. The title of this chapter is The Cherokee Witchcraft Sorcery Complex. Before describing the most conspicuous attributes of Cherokee witches and sorcerers, whose traits appear at times to be interchangeable and amorphous, I wish to dispel some popular misconceptions about the nature of these supernatural beings who have for centuries inhabited the Cherokee psyche. It should be strongly emphasized at the onset that the traditional Cherokee witch deviates from the standard fantasy of the jealous hag flying on a broomstick, a model celebrated most commonly in European folklore. In a Cherokee community, although it is generally agreed that knowledge about occult matters resides with elders, accusations of witchcraft may be directed at any individual who exhibits suspicious behavior. Because it is widely known that Cherokee witches, like those of the Seneca, can assume many guises, it follows that no person, young, old, male, or female, can be totally exempt from this category. The traditional witch diverges incontrovertibly from its European counterpart in another respect. The Christianized view of the witch as a woeful creature who sells his or her soul to do Satan's bidding is a concept wholly alien to the Cherokee. Satanic covens of witches, bound by the intractable pactado con el diablo, and trained in the black arts at Arbularius, schools held by accomplished sorcerers, is largely a fabrication of Southwestern and Mesoamerican folklore. Although the Aboriginal Cherokee may have subscribed to a hereditary priesthood caste, there is no ethno-historical or folkloric evidence to suggest that Cherokee witches ever banded together in a secret and systematic organization with a novitiate fee and an initiation ceremony as the Iroquois evidently did. In contrast, the Cherokee witch is undisputably a solitary creature. The Cherokee witch lives alone, eats alone, fearful of being poisoned, and commits heinous acts alone, surreptitiously under the cover of darkness. Jealous and hypersensitive by nature, the Cherokee witch lives in ever fearful grip of being publicly exposed. Cherokee folklore holds that a witch can be detected, and therefore controlled, by various methods. According to one Choctaw Cherokee informant, the bluish appearance of the face of a corpse in a coffin offers irrefutable evidence that the deceased was a victim of witchcraft or sorcery. Among the Western Cherokee, medicine men have been known to doctor dogs so that they can recognize witches who were approaching the house. During the 18th century, the standard method employed by Eastern Cherokee folklore healers to see witches was to burn the dried bodies of field mice or shrews and rub the ashes in the eyes. Just a little side note by the narrator, take that with a grain of salt. Cherokee witches are known to keep a menagerie of pets. According to another informant, any congregation of owls, dogs, wolves, or lizards hovering around a particular residence of a dying person serves as prime facie evidence that the occupant within is a malevolent being. The association of lizards with witches here is curious because these reptiles most often form an integral part of rain-making ceremonies, particularly the springing lizard. It may be a borrowing from Muskogean folk beliefs among the Alabama and Coasati groups, Swanton observes. When a man became a witch, these Indians believed he was full of lizards, which compelled the person of whom they had possession to kill someone every little while. If he did not, they would begin to bite him and would finally devour him. Such a person could be cured, however, by undergoing a treatment to expel the lizards. The punishment for practicing witchcraft has changed little over the centuries. The admonishment of Exodus 22:18, "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live," seems to have been embraced with singular fervor by most Native American societies. A telling example of this ageless prohibition can be seen at El Valecito, a prehistoric Kumeyaay Indian rock art site located near Tecate, Mexico. Here, the eyes of the interested tourist can be directed toward a ghostly figure etched in granite with a spike drawn through his heart. Local legends assert that this spot is the resting place of a witch who was killed here and nailed down to his or her tomb for eternity. In keeping with such standards, Cherokee witches could also expect to be executed summarily once their criminal natures were exposed. Witches who are vulnerable to bullets could be put to death either through natural means or by lowering their souls by magical rites. The Seneca, according to Wallace, appear to have been more lenient than the Cherokee in this regard. If a witch could be brought to confess and repent by threats or physical torture, or by such magical devices as burning the living heart of a blackbird, the witch's power would be broken, and, as a last resort, the witch could be killed. A cursory survey of the ethno-historical literature indicates that death was the standard punishment among Native American societies. Numerous 18th and 19th century accounts of random witch killings are recorded among the Chickasaw, Natchez, and the Miami and Delaware people. Swanton also records several incidences of witches killing among the Creek Indians. One account, in particular, captures the atmosphere of frenzied hatred that must have surrounded these public accusations. As soon as it was announced that a man was acquainted with the work and dismal effects of the diabolical art, he was seized by a mob, tied to a tree with ropes, and light wood piled around him and set on fire, and he was burned to death with as little compunction or remorse of conscience as in the Roman Inquisition. Even though laws were passed among the Western Cherokee in 1824 forbidding the wanton killing of suspected witches, the activity appears to have continued unabated throughout the 19th century. Swanton, citing Hitchcock as his source, reports a similar situation that occurred among the Creek. Formerly, the Indians have been known to knock old women regarded as witches on the head and throw them into the water. Now there's a law against it, but even last year an old woman was killed as a witch. One might assume that witch hunts would abate in the 20th century, particularly as those on Indian reservations became more attuned to the effects of psychological counseling, treatment in mental institutions, and the use of therapeutic drugs. Despite the legal sanctions and the modern medical alternatives one occasionally reads in ethnographic reports about the demise of a suspected witch in Native American communities. As Shimony observes, most of these executions take place only while the witch is in animal guise, by shooting, or by means of counter-witchcraft.